Delegate Dana Stein. I know I've had the pleasure to work with Delegate Stein on a number of bills, and I'm sure many of you have as well, which just shows the breadth of legislation that he works on and the importance of all of it. And so, just as an intro, Delegate Stein represents District 11B in Baltimore County and is a leading voice on environmental issues as a longtime member and former vice chair of the Environment and Transportation Committee. With a perfect Maryland League of Conservation voter score and recognition as a green champion, he has spearheaded impactful legislation on emission reductions, clean water initiatives, wastewater resilience, and continuing to advocate for the protection of the Chesapeake Bay and a sustainable future for all of Marylanders. Delegate Stein, thanks for being here today, and I'm excited to hear what you're talking about.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you for that kind introduction. I appreciate it. It's nice to be with everyone on the summit this afternoon, and I'm going to talk about two bills, or actually, I'm going to do sort of the lead in the intro, and then uh, in each case, turn things over to the wonderful advocates who are leading the charge on these bills. So the first one is electronics recycling, and this is a variation of a bill that I've introduced the past couple of years. It reflects the fact that our current electronics recycling program really doesn't do much in terms of diverting the electronics waste stream. So it modernizes the program in a number of respects. And a key change from last year is that this is a producer-funded program, whereas before there was a consumer fee that would be attached to the items that are to be recycled. But this changes that. And with that, I want to turn things over to Kitty McElroy, who's the president of the Maryland Recycling Network, who will go into more detail.
Hi. I'm just waiting for my video to pull up. I don't know if you all can see me or hear me. Can you confirm it? Okay, great. Great. Well, thank you so much, Delegate Stein and MLC. Once again, my name is Kitty McElroy. I'm here on behalf of Maryland Recycling Network and the current president. Okay, so this bill is needed because most local governments are landfilling electronics due to recycling costs. MDE program data shows that there are likely millions of pounds of electronics being landfilled in Maryland each year. And we only have about 13 years left of landfill capacity in the state when factoring in population growth. Additionally, battery fires are increasing in the waste management sector. The program will divert battery devices to proper outlets, reducing incidents. And additionally, it will increase our domestic supply of critical minerals and precious metals, which are in high demand by the clean energy, electronics, auto, and jewelry industries. So the expanded list of devices that would be covered under this program include household electronics like computers, monitors, other computer equipment, televisions, laptops, tablets, routers, printers, cameras, radios, remotes, headphones, DVD players, video game consoles, cable boxes, home audio equipment, etc. Similar to the paint and packaging and paper EPR laws recently enacted in Maryland, electronic manufacturers will be required to register with and pay into producer responsibility organizations, known as PROs. So these PROs will operate and coordinate with each other under one coordinating body, which will be responsible for submitting annual registrations and fees to MDE. The coordinating body will also contract with and fund electronic recyclers, which can be utilized by local governments, retailers, and other end-of-life electronic collectors. The program will increase human and environmental health and safety, especially for waste workers and first responders, by funding a statewide campaign to educate the public about recycling outlets for electronics and battery devices, as well as on the dangers of lithium-ion battery fires. The campaign will promote free public collection sites for material drop-off to keep these materials out of curbside waste and recycling collection trucks, since battery devices are causing fires on trucks and at waste and recycling facilities. Under this program, manufacturers must provide educational materials with a new electronic device offered for sale in the state. This includes providing printed materials in or part of the packaging and or on the receipt with a website, phone number, and or QR code. So manufacturers must also fund public awareness campaigns to advertise and promote this on a regular basis, including ads on the internet, television, radio, billboard, public transit, solid waste collection truck wraps or decals, and home mailers. The program will establish a permanent multi-stakeholder advisory council to review and recommend changes to the program over time, which MDE can update in regulation. Some examples of what the advisory council will make recommendations on include an expansion of the types of electronics covered under the program, increasing free public access to include additional drop-off sites, mailback programs, or at-home curbside pickup service, funding battery fire detection and suppression equipment to safeguard collection sites, waste facilities, and vehicle operations, requirements on the reuse, refurbishment, and recyclability of electronics, including the potential for eco-modulation and accessibility for repair redesign. This could also include post-consumer content and greenhouse gas reduction manufacturing goals when considering product design. And lastly, the need for a disposal or landfill ban on electronics. So overall, this program will support green collar jobs, including local businesses such as certified recyclers in Maryland. And lastly, the bill mirrors recent legislative updates in Oregon, Illinois, South Carolina, and one underway in Minnesota. That's all I have right now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kitty, and thanks, Matt, for the opportunity to present on this. And we certainly welcome additional support. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And then, Matt, if it's okay, I'll go on to my second bill, which deals with the SEEF, the Strategic Energy Investment Fund. And specifically, it would establish that there are mandated appropriations for climate change related programs under the SEEF. It would say for the next 4 years, there has to be a minimum $365 million from the SEEF that are appropriate to different categories of programs that impact climate change. And with that, you all know Kristen Harbison, the wonderful political director of Maryland LCV. So I will turn things over to her and she will elaborate on this.
Thanks so much, Delegate. And everybody, I'm delighted to be here with my good friend, Delegate Stein, to work on this bill. So just a background for anybody who might not understand what the SEEF is. It is a specific designated special fund. It's the single largest non-taxpayer generated source of revenue that's specifically designated to support low-income families and overburdened and underserved communities in Maryland to advance the goal of climate pollution reduction. And I think the fact that it is not taxpayer generated, this does not come out of the general fund, is really important in this tough fiscal year. And as the delegate was saying, so just as some context, last year the General Assembly used a significant amount of money from this fund to help balance the state budget, which was understandable. We were in a budget crisis. We all understand that. And this is a large pot of money coming from these non-taxpayer generated sources that could be used. What we want to make sure of is that at least the programs that are specifically designated for climate programs are funded at an adequate level. And so what we did was we started with the money that was spent out this year in the last recorded fiscal year for the Strategic Energy Investment Fund, and said that's the baseline. We need to make sure that at least that money is being spent for these programs. There are other uses that could be used for this program, that this money could be used for to support other climate and environmental programs that we care about. But this is just to make sure that the baseline, and so it uses a baseline, as the delegate said, and continues from fiscal year 2028 to 2032. We also added on this, there are a couple other programs that were not necessarily included this year that we want to make sure are funded. One of them is electric school buses, which would be a fund that would come out of the CEF, but would be spent by the Maryland Department of the Environment. And that makes sure that helps to cover the difference between diesel school buses and electric school buses, which is a really important way to make sure that we keep our children healthy. The other additional money would be for what's called the Maryland Clean Energy Center, which is a green bank. And that's a really smart way to spend this money because it helps to support innovation and technological advances. And because it's a green bank, that money gets recycled year over year. So it amplifies and creates and helps to grow the investment in the state in the clean energy economy. So it's a pretty simple bill, but obviously we are very interested in any support that people can give us. This is part of a larger program that the environmental community writ large is working to step in to make sure that all of the Maryland environmental programs are supported and funded adequately. So this is part of a larger effort that would also support not just the CEF, but also the environmental agencies and the environmental programs that those support. So that's what we got for you, but happy to answer any questions. And we really are interested in your support. If anybody wants to help out, they can reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. And so Matt, that's that's a wrap on my presentations. And if anyone, I guess, just like for the first bill, if anyone has any questions, to put them in the chat or to reach out to me or Kristen directly.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make the note. Both Delegate Stein and Kristen's email addresses on the screen here. I have one question, Delegate. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I personally don't know, but how long has CEF been around? And I understand last year it faced pretty dramatic cuts. And so I'm curious, do you feel that using last year as a baseline is sufficient, or will you see the need to grow from that in the future years?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, there were, significant cuts last year. I think the number that we're putting into this bill we view as sort of the baseline, and conceivably, could be higher. I will also in a second ask Kristen to weigh in as to how long the CEF has been around. I believe about 20 years. From the decade of the aughts. I think that's right. And Kristen, maybe if you could confirm that as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yes, so the CEF was established by the General Assembly in 2008, and it's managed by the Maryland Energy Administration. One of the things I think it's important to know is that although the CEF, there are two major programs that fund the CEF. And we can go into and where that money comes from gets really weedy really fast. But one of them comes from the Renewable Portfolio Standard that we set that sets baselines for how much renewable energy the Maryland that Maryland utilities need to buy from renewable sources. They're not able to, when they aren't able to reach those goals, they pay what's called an alternative compliance payment into the CEF because of a lot of different issues, because of the pandemic, because of problems getting solar developed, all these things. That money has raised. It used to be that money was in the tens of thousands of dollars coming into the CEF every year, and now it's more like the hundreds of millions. So the amount of money that is available has ballooned in the last several years, and so that's one of the reasons that we're paying attention. It's why there's so much money that is so attractive for the General Assembly looking to balance the budget, because there's so much money available. There is obviously also a huge risk. There's a huge need for these programs. The climate pollution reduction plan is estimates that to meet our climate goals, it would cost $1 billion a year. So yes, there is needs for this money. Yes, we should be spending all this money to reach our climate goals. But that's sort of where that's some of the really important background. And again, it can get really weedy really fast, but I'm happy to answer any more questions.
Yeah, well, I'll just point out there's a weedy question in the Q&A for you to answer. But your point is so important, and I'll say the cost of not acting, as we learned yesterday from Ian with Maryland Energy Administration, is even more expensive. And so, let's take this opportunity to really put the money that we have to work and to really make a difference with that. And so, Delegate, thank you. Kristen, thank you. I really appreciate both of the insight that both of you provided, and I look forward to working on this and seeing how this legislation moves in this coming session.
Thank you.